the 3 types of data scientists. So the first one, data scientist is a very broad term, and then there can be a lot of things under this umbrella. So if you have looked for jobs, for example, on Facebook or Twitter, those jobs are called data scientists, but they mainly work on product analytics. What it means is they do a lot of A/B testing. So they use a lot of statistical testing skills, and they also have different type of metrics: how long you stay on a website, how many things have you purchased, and how do you use different type of metrics to make decisions. And you will work very closely with product managers, and you will generate reports, and then in order to retrieve data, a very important skill is SQL. So like I said, data scientists and data scientists can be very different. I have seen a data scientist who use very little R or Python, but they're so good at SQL, they can generate a report, and maybe that's enough for the specific role. And then I have seen other data scientists don't know SQL, but they can join tables in R or Python. So for those type of roles, it really depends. But I would say if you are interested in product analytics, SQL is a very important skill, and then R or Python will be a plus. Or sometimes you probably will have to use some Python if you want to automate some reports or do data visualization. And then to prepare those type of interviews, for example, I'll just use Facebook as example because I had an interview with them. They would, some of my friends recommended me to read a book called like How to Crack the Product Manager Interview. So you actually need to have a type of structure when the interviewer asks you, how do you improve a product? How do you get more engagement? So knowing statistical testing is not enough. You have to be able to tie that to a product sense. And another thing that's important for this type of data science is you need to know some probability, like Bayesian, conditional probability, because those are things that are closely related to statistical testing. And then if you are owning statistical testing from the beginning, you also need to know a sample survey, how to design experiment. Because in the real life, there will never be a perfect sample. How do you make the trade-off? How do you find a proxy? So there are a lot of information there. And if you want to learn, if you have never learned A/B testing before, there's a free course. I think if you just it's created by Google. You just Google like A/B testing course, Google, you will find this free course. And I watched the course before I had an interview with Amazon. So this is a product analytics route. And then your day-to-day would be, you would analyze some metrics, and you might sit in the room with product managers. You can influence a lot of decisions. And sometimes this type of job can be very fast-paced, because if the business needs some metrics, you might need to be able to quickly get the metrics or do some analysis, do some deep dive using SQL or Python. So that's why during the interview, it's very important for them to see you are able to join some tables very, very quickly. And then if you work for a large company, again, I'm going to use the example of Facebook, you might not need to use machine learning. So you probably will need to understand it, because you might work with research scientists or machine learning engineers on some type of product, because there are a lot of say ads targeting will be related to machine learning, but you don't need to do that on your own. So I know a lot of data scientists are interested in machine learning or AI. So if you're very interested in that, then start with product analytics. You might not have a lot of opportunity to use that type of data science muscle. And the second one is machine learning. So machine learning also has a a different type of data scientist. So sometimes you see the role is called data scientist, but it requires PhD and also mention very specific algorithm. They want you to be familiar with that. So those type of roles are actually more like a machine learning researcher or machine learning engineer. And there's another type of machine learning role. A lot of people want to say, oh, I don't have a PhD, can I, or I don't have a master, can I still do machine learning? The answer is yes. As machine learning product or like even deep learning models become more and more mature, a lot of companies just want you to be able to solve a problem. So this type of data scientist is machine learning practitioner. So you don't really have to develop the model. The most important thing is you understand how to collect data, how to select the right model to solve this problem, and evaluate the model. So as long as you find a model to solve the problem, it's okay if you're not a researcher. So if you are interested in this type of becoming this type of data scientist, of course, you will need to learn machine learning. You need to learn Python. And like I said, those type of data science can be very different. And because I have an interesting background, I've been working both product analytics and machine learning. So I know A/B testing and also I know machine learning, but I talked to some of my current coworkers, for example, some of them never studied A/B testing or didn't even use SQL or don't know a lot about probability theory. Doesn't mean they're not great data scientists. No, it's just different type of roles have different type of requirements. You don't have to be everything, and the company is usually not look for everything. So you don't need to feel anxious if you don't know something. Just need to pick a route that interests you or most fit for your background. And then again, so there's a difference between practitioner and engineer. And if you are a practitioner, you might not need to productionize a machine learning model, but it's good to still learn something about algorithms, how to connect your model to production. And if you're a machine learning engineer, of course, a lot of people do work as a machine learning engineer, come from a computer science background, and then they have to be able to scale up the model so it can be in production. A lot of them, their job duties are very similar to software developer. They will on call because if your algorithm, for example, is customer facing, right? You're recommending, say, like images or doing some type of ranking for search. And if your algorithm doesn't work, you will need to be able to fix it. And the third one is a very common one. It's a generalist. So it's kind of similar to my very first job because it's a smaller company, right? So your data scientist role is not very specialized. And I used some A/B testing and I also used some statistical modeling. I did something like regression models. I built time series models. So for this type of role, you need to have a broad set of skills, but you don't have to be very deep in any of the skills. But of course, it would be good if you have some type of specialty. But for this type of skills, what they're looking for is not like you have to be an expert. They're looking for someone to solve a problem fast. So the next one is we talk about the three type of data scientists. Excuse me, take a sip of water. I found the three actual job postings. Let's take a look at some examples so you can remember what I talked about. So the first one, just give you a few seconds to take a look. Let me see if you can type in Q&A. I guess I can see it. What type of data scientist do you think this one is? master degree in quantitative discipline, data analysis field experience, Python, SQL. What type of data science do you think this one is? Machine learning. Yeah, some people say this is machine learning, but this one didn't really specific mention machine learning, right? Like you can study statistics, you can do operational research. It says pretty generic data and analysis related field, and then it mentioned the SQL and MATLAB. And then another thing is, every employer, they have something they prefer. Everybody prefer PhD and a lot of years experience, but you don't need to be intimidated by the preferred qualification. It definitely will make you a better candidate, but I would say the most important thing are the minimal qualifications. And especially when you try to understand what will be the day-to-day like, look at the minimal qualification first. So this one, the answer is, this is more like a general, data scientist generalist. Because if you want to see, you can see here, solve, where is it? I took some notes. I think you can find, you wanted to develop analytical framework. So this is kind of vague, to monitor business and product performance. So this is a little bit like metrics development, right? And then here, analyze experiment. So here definitely there's some A/B testing in there, and translate data insights into decisions, and then metrics that measure that helps. Oh, sorry, did I go to a different slide? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't notice. I just clicked. Sorry, the first one is, you're right, is the data science generalist. So here's what I want to show you. If you can see my cursor. Sorry, I didn't realize that I went to the next slide. So this is very important. Select the right statistical tools given a data analysis problem. So this means it's okay that you don't, it's not very specific on what tools you have to know, but you need to know a broad set of tools. So when you have a problem, you will select the right one to solve it. So this is usually Signal. This is a generic tool. And then they want you to know regression or other type of models, or the most important thing is you can learn very fast on the job. So when I started my job, what I learned in school, my program was focusing a lot on biology and biostatistics, but my work is, I was supporting marketing. So I have to learn some regression applications in the marketing field. And then when my first manager tried to hire me, she didn't ask me anything about marketing, because she was looking for someone has a foundational knowledge, and then she wasn't looking for something I didn't know. So it's okay, like you don't know everything, but you need to understand the basic knowledge so you can learn on the job very quickly. And the second one, we looked at a little bit, what type of data science. Yeah, someone said it's product analytics, right? Because whenever you see something about decision making or experiments, sometimes they don't mention A/B testing explicitly, but if you see experiments, launch decisions, product performance, is definitely related to A/B testing. And then the metrics, you might need to build some dashboard using Python or R, those experience statistics, it didn't really say machine learning. So if you don't know machine learning, you're totally fine in this role, but you need to be very strong in experiment design. So basically that's all the keywords I mentioned in the previous slides. So the next one is a Salesforce data science role. This one is really large, so I just take a screenshot. So yeah, previously we mentioned generalist, and the product analyst. So this one, you probably have guessed, this one is a machine learning data scientist. Production level code, right? So if you look into more, maybe this one can be a mix of a data science practitioner, or maybe even more like a machine learning engineer. And they want you to have hands-on experience focusing on machine learning information retrieval. So previously, those data science role, you don't see them mention skills in Java, Python, or even Scala, but right, this one mentioned that object-oriented design. So this one means you don't just need to build the machine learning model. They would expect you to work with engineers to productionize that. So if you have background in some type of engineering, if you learn some machine learning, maybe that's a good fit for you. But if your background is more like statistical modeling, probability, or pure math, if you haven't learned a lot of programming, you can definitely, I believe anybody can be a data scientist. You can learn programming, right? You can go to boot camp, take online course, but if you need to find a job very quickly, this one might be a little bit difficult for you to learn programming skills really fast, but it's a good fit if you want to transition from machine learning data scientist from a software engineer or any type of other engineering background.